You're listening to Miss Style, Strength, and Grace with Deidra Murphy. This is your one-stop shop for style, fashion, health, and fitness. Deidra's passion is to help empower women to reach their fullest potential, both inside and out. Deidra and her guests will be discussing how to develop your style, health, and lifestyle hacks to energize your day and inspire you to keep reaching higher levels of success. Deidra is a professional fashion stylist, health guru, and Mrs. Washington 2017. It's time to get open and honest with Deidra.
Bonjour. Hi, everyone. I wanted to say a quick welcome in French because I did just get back. I guess it's been about a month now since my trip to Paris. So I included a packing list on a couple episodes ago about what I was going to take to Paris. So if you haven't been keeping up, I was there on a working trip. I got to not only style some photo shoots that were over there, but I also got to model myself and then of course have a little bit of fun and a few crepes while I was over there as well. So I learned some life lessons after going there, especially on a working trip. This was my third trip going to Europe and my second time going to Paris. But you know what? Whenever I travel, I'm always picking up little tips and tricks as well as just overall life lessons and takeaways from the experience. So today I'm eager to share my 5 biggest lessons from traveling to Paris again. So my first one is that things always take longer than they seem or that you think they will. So obviously we were on a lot of schedules just because we had to make sure we were in places for photo shoots during certain times for the lighting and, you know, to make sure that we weren't around a bunch of crowds. And especially in Paris too, apparently if you're trying to shoot at a famous location during regular business hours, you might get kicked out unless you have a certain type of permit to shoot there, and we didn't want to have to deal with that, especially because we were shooting in so many different places. So we would shoot first thing in the morning, either be shooting by 7 o'clock in the morning or late at night, so after 6 p.m. around the sunset time, which actually works perfect because that's when the light is the best and you cannot get better than an amazing Paris sunset photo shoot. Just one of the best. Anyway, so I've learned that things always take longer. So a lot of the shoots I was modeling myself and also styling one of our models and, you know, getting other girls ready as well, even kind of being a go-to hair and makeup artist. I've said this before, and I can do hair and makeup on others. It's not my preference. I don't enjoy doing it as much as I do styling, but I do have the skills. So on some of the shoots, I ended up having to do hair and makeup on others, which is totally fine. But I think next time we do this big trip, which will be 2019, and this similar type of photography experience, we're going to hire a hair and makeup artist rather than having me do it. And I'll focus on just the dresses and the gown styling. Anyway, so not only getting myself ready, but getting, you know, other women ready as well, definitely just took longer. But one instance in particular sticks out in my mind of trying to get our luggage and everything from one part of town to the other, and we had to take Ubers and just getting everything there. We thought we had it all timed out perfectly, and we didn't. And we were trying to get all of our luggage taken out to actually a friend's house. We were going to stay with her for a couple days because we first stayed at this amazing Paris apartment, and then we were going to stay with our other friend Katie that lives in Paris, and it just took longer to get all of our things out to her place. And we had a scheduled tour just for fun of the Paris Opera House, and it was one of those ones where it was guided in English, so that way we knew what we were saying, what happened here, etc. And we missed the tour by about 15 minutes. So we had to repurchase tickets for the Opera House tour, and these were unguided, self-guided tours because they didn't have any more spaces available for the led tours by the English speakers. So it is what it is. My friend and I learned our lesson that anywhere in Paris just takes longer not only to get there, but things always take longer than you expect. And that leads to my next biggest takeaway, my next life lesson. So number 2 is always double check. So this is why we were actually late getting our things over to our friend Katie's apartment. So Katie had texted us her address in France said, here's the apartment. My husband and I will be out of town, but we'll be getting back later this evening. So here's the code. She left us a key so we could get in, put all our stuff in there, and then we could go to our opera house tour later that afternoon. And we entered the address into our Uber app to get taken there. Uber pulls up. Granted, we have a lot of luggage because I've got all the gowns and things that women were wearing, plus my luggage, and we've got Wendy's luggage, the photographer's luggage, her equipment for filming and shooting. So we've got probably, 6 or 7 different pieces of luggage. We get it all in the Uber. We get to the address. The Uber guy practically kicks us out of his car because he's like, I've got to go to another client. We're like, okay. So we get all our stuff out. We try entering the apartment of our friend and the code doesn't work. We try it again. The code still does not work. We thought we'd try the key that she left us. Still didn't work. And we're both freaking out, like, what is going on? Here we are in this little side road in the heart of Paris. We can't get into Katie's apartment. We don't know what the heck we're going to do. And this gentleman starts walking down the street. Granted, thankfully, it's in the middle of the day. And I asked him if we were on, I don't even remember the name of the street, but Rue de something. And if this was number, 123 Rue de whatever. And he says, yeah. And then I show him the address that my friend Katie had sent us. And he said, oh, no, that's not where you're at. Thankfully, he spoke English decently. Apparently, we had entered the address and just let it populate on the Uber app. And the Uber app immediately brought it up, that address in Paris. Well, lo and behold, Katie doesn't live in the actual heart of Paris. She lives on a suburb just outside of Paris. And the address happens to be the exact same street number and house number or apartment number, but in a little suburb outside of Paris. So we needed to be about 30 minutes away from where we were. So we had to call another Uber, wait another 15 minutes for that Uber to arrive. We finally get to Katie's apartment, and thankfully it's the right address. We were able to get in using the code and the keys. And now we have to climb 3 flights of stairs. There's no elevator with all of our luggage. And one of the members of our team actually is a balloon artist. So I forgot to mention this. So not only did we have all of her luggage because she had gone to London just for the day to tour London, which was great. But so she left her big luggage with us, as well as her big giant helium tank. So we have this helium tank, probably weighs about 50 pounds. We're hauling that and all of the luggage up 3 flights of old wooden stairs with no elevator. So that was fun. But it did leave us some life lessons about planning and making sure we double check the address. If we both would have double checked on both of our maps and phones, or texted Katie and double checked the address, we probably would have ended up with the right location the first time around and not wasted an extra hour, which is why, if you refer back to lesson number 1, we missed our official tour at the Paris Opera House. It's okay though. We did our own self-guided tour and it was still incredible and still an opulent experience and a beautiful place to tour. So this all kind of leads to my next biggest takeaway, which is space. I have learned to appreciate space, especially in America. We are used to everything being really big, wide open spaces. Everything's bigger in Texas. For whatever reason, American culture is very free on our space. And it's probably just because we've had a lot of space and, it's the land of opportunity, expansion, expand west. I live in the West Coast, Washington State, and, just everything is bigger and you are allowed that freedom because you can actually buy land. You can build a big home. I mean, if you want to build a tiny home, that's a whole movement right now too with the tiny house living, then you can go that route as well. But if you want a big space to yourself, you can have it. Well, our friend Katie that we stayed with, she said, oh yeah, we've got plenty of room. Come on over. You guys are welcome to stay. And we get there, we load all of our stuff in her apartment and it is tiny. I don't even know how to explain how tiny this apartment was. I think she had told us it was a 2-bedroom apartment. No, it was more like 1 bedroom, a sort of small living room, a kitchen that was smaller than my bathroom, not only at my house, but even my 1940s home bathroom. It's small. The kitchen was smaller than that. And a bathroom at her place that I don't even know how to describe how small it was. The shower itself was probably smaller than an RV or, like an RV type shower. It was tiny. And so they've got, their furniture too, the couch, the dining set, everything. And I felt immediate claustrophobia. We stayed one night there and I was about to have a panic attack just because I like to be able to kind of unpack and organize when I get to a location, hang up my garments, make sure I have, a space to put my toothbrush and my toothpaste on the counter in the bathroom, and just having those little nooks and crannies to place my items so I can feel a little bit at ease and organized. Well, we didn't have any of that space there. And I appreciate so much the fact that Katie and her husband were willing to let us stay there and open up their home to us. But I just felt really claustrophobic. And after one of the nights I called my husband, I was like, I'm having severe claustrophobia and I don't know what to do because we're in this tiny apartment and I feel bad because, they opened up their home to us, but on the other end, I can't sleep here because I just can't get comfortable. And my husband was so sweet and he's, calling me from the States and he's like, babe, if you need to get a hotel, just go get a hotel. Like say, hey, no hard feelings. I just need a little bit more space. I'm going to grab a hotel back in Paris. And as soon as I mentioned that to my friend Wendy, who is our photographer, she was like, actually, would you mind splitting a hotel with me if we did that? And I was like, yes, done. Let's do it. So we went and went back into the heart of Paris and got a hotel. And I think too, it just ended up being for the best. We didn't realize how far outside of the city Katie's apartment was. And with all of the traveling that we needed to do to get to different shooting locations, using either Metro or Uber to get around, it ended up just being more time-wise, a little more logical. And even just having a hotel room that was still pretty small. I mean, even a typical Paris hotel is tiny and you have like this one small bathroom. If you just get a regular room, it still felt more spacious to us because we could have, an empty wardrobe to put our belongings in and a bathroom that we could put our stuff in. So it just was a little more comfortable going that route. So I've really learned to appreciate space. My next biggest takeaway, so I guess that was 3. So number 4 is learning to rely on my instincts and not technology. So again, referencing back to getting around, using the metro system or using Ubers or just walking, I had to learn to rely on my instincts and my sense of navigation. I luckily have really built up my confidence when it comes to navigating around. A few years ago, I spent a couple weeks in New York and I got to know their subway system really well and how the kind of grid of Manhattan works. And it actually started to really build up my confidence about getting around. I used to be one of those people that was like, I don't know where that's at. I'll just, follow the GPS instructions and where it tells me to go, I'll go. I only know landmarks. Just that mentality of like, I don't know, somebody else will figure it out for me. Well, in New York, especially a few years ago, I started having to learn to rely on myself because my phone GPS, I don't know if it was just interference from all the tall skyscrapers and buildings, but it never really led me the right way. So I just started studying the map of Manhattan more, getting to know streets and which ways went north and south and which ways went east and west. And even just figuring out, okay, what way is north and south and east and west? And that gave me more confidence going into Paris last year. So I went there on vacation with my husband in September of 2017, and that gave me more familiarity with it. So this time around, I felt really confident navigating through the city. And my friend Wendy, who, like I said, is our photographer that I went with on this working trip, the one that hired me to go as a stylist, she was kind of that way that I used to be, is like, I don't pay attention to streets and locations and I kind of know landmarks, but one of the nights we went to dinner and we really wanted to hit the Moulin Rouge that night and see the giant windmill lit up with all the lights. So we wanted to go after dark. We weren't attending a show or anything there, but we wanted to go and see it. So we have dinner and we both realized both of our phones are practically dead. And I had this portable charger with me, but it for some reason wasn't working. Granted, I figured that out later and I got it working later. So if we were ever in the same situation, I had my little portable phone charger on me. However, I didn't have it. And I was able to use the map and my brains and not only got us up to the Moulin Rouge using both the metro and just walking. Then I got us back to our apartment that we were staying in near the Eiffel Tower that same night without using any sort of technology, just using the metro and a map and my instincts. And I was just so proud of myself to navigate not only a foreign city to myself, but one where I didn't speak the language and I didn't have my phone and I didn't have GPS anymore because my phone had died, and as had Wendy's. So just relying on yourself, trusting your gut instincts, and learning how to get your way around, work your way around without navigation of a GPS phone. So going back to kind of old school, I guess, mapping a pen. I even wrote out some little notes on the map that I had to make sure I remembered, where to turn, where to do this and that. And so anyway, I was just super proud of myself. So yes, I have a little dirt on my shoulders and I'm wiping that off right now. A little dirt on my shoulder. All right. My last biggest takeaway, I guess. So lesson number 1 is this one. You can push through when it's a passion. So here's what I mean. You get there, you're already dead tired. I know I can't sleep on planes. It had been an overnight flight. So it's a red-eye flight from Washington all the way over to Europe. And then we had another flight from Reykjavik, Iceland, over to Paris. So by the time, we made it into our apartment that first day in Paris, it was 5:00 p.m. Paris time. So I'd already been up for 24 hours. And then the next morning was the first day that we were starting shooting, and I had to be up and start getting ready by 4 a.m. anyway to start doing hair and makeup. And I just pushed through. I don't know how, but somehow I had energy. Granted, I woke up about 2:30 that morning just naturally because my brain was thinking, oh, it's evening. Why are you asleep? It's 6 p.m. You should be eating dinner or whatever. And I just figured, well, I have to get up anyway soon, so I might as well just start right now. And it happened the next morning too. I finally got back into a regular sleeping pattern about day 3. So that was wonderful. But I guess my point is we were just going from dawn until dusk, literally. We were doing some shoots in the morning at sunrise and some shoots in the evening at sunset. One of the days we went for 22 hours, pretty much straight. I had woken up by 4:00 to start hair and makeup. We started shooting at 7 that morning. We shot as much as we could in the morning. We had a little break for lunch and everything. We rented a car and we drove out to this amazing castle, which was about a 2-hour drive outside of the city. And we shot out at this amazing, it was more of a chateau than a castle, I guess. But when you're from America and you don't have buildings that are older than, 1700s, possibly a building that was built in 13 something or the 14th century, it seems like a castle. So it was more of a chateau, and we did a photo shoot out there. And by the time we wrapped up that, got dinner and drove back to Paris to our apartment that we were staying in the city, it was about 1:00 in the morning when we got back. So by the time I made it to bed, it was 2:00 in the morning. So I'd almost been up for 24 hours at that point. And I don't know how I had energy. I don't know how I stayed awake, but I think it just came back to I was so passionate about what I was doing. I was loving every moment of it. And I truly love being a stylist, getting to style other women in these amazing gowns, getting to model myself. So all that adrenaline just fed through my entire system, my entire being. And I ended up crashing, when I finally made it home and got done with all the flying, all the driving to get back to my house. And I crashed that night and I slept for 13 hours. So it does catch up to you, but when it's in the moment, you can use that adrenaline and that passion to push through. So I think that was my biggest takeaway. I hope that you are inspired by some of my biggest takeaways. If you go traveling, what are some of the ways that you learn from your travels, whether it's domestic or abroad? I would love to hear about it. So, share your insights to traveling. You can share them on your review. So you can write me a review here on iTunes. So go to iTunes, leave a review, maybe write a little remark about what you've learned from traveling. Or if you are on Instagram, tag it in your stories and tag me at StyleByDeidra, and I'll share that story on my stories on Instagram as well. And with Style and Grace, I'm Deidra Murphy.
Hey ladies, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. To help empower more women, please be a doll and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to StyleByDeidra.com.